tough task here because I have to, first by virtue of my convictions, disagree with a lot of what has been said here, and I would really not like to be indicted for contempt given the membership up here. But let me just make one preliminary point and then try and explain. I think you need to recognize, first of all, and I say this with great respect, our systems don't work. We're here to discuss insolvency and debt enforcement. Debt enforcement in Pakistan often takes decades. You want to look at insolvency? A number of people here have pointed out that there hasn't been a single petition under the Corporate Rehabilitation Act. Even in terms of winding up, there are serious problems, as my Lord Justice Ijaz Ishaq pointed out. 22 cases in a jurisdiction such as Islamabad is not a good sign in one way, that it's not really used. So, why is this so? And I would say this is not because of judicial failure. And I say this not only because there are so many judges here, but let me try and explain why. These are laws which are faulty, they are obsolete, and they are backed up by obsolete regulatory systems. Those laws need to be changed. Now, if you look at, for example, why is debt enforcement so slow? The short answer is because you don't have clean title in Pakistan. Debt enforcement at the end of it means trying to find a piece of land, trying to get it sold. As a lawyer, what we've done, as all of us have done, is we have raised insubstantial title disputes to make sure that those issues wind up delaying the enforcement of debt for as long as possible. That is what people do to delay debt enforcement, and that's because you don't have a title-based system. If you want to look at winding up, yes, it's a tried and tested system. The problem is, in my view, that it places judges in an almost impossible situation. My Lord, Mr. Justice Mia Gul Hasan Aurangzeb talked about going for the jugular. And under this system, you ultimately normally only have two options. Either you say that the company can continue, or you say that the company is to be wound up. And once it's wound up, that company, notwithstanding the fact that winding up can be taken back, is more often than not dead forever. And when it dies, society loses. And judges are part of society, and they don't want that to happen. So we have any amount of case law dealing with what is or is not a disputed debt, which is why people don't use winding up, because they go off and normally it's the banks who are the users. They file banking cases which are much simpler. Then they run into problems with enforcement, but that's another issue. So then coming to the Corporate Rehabilitation Act. Now, I have a slightly different perspective on this, and that's partly because I have to confess that I was the original draftsman. I spent 8 years working on the law, first from 2001 to 2004 with the Banking Law Review Committee, and then subsequently with Chairman SECP Salman Sheikh in 2008-2009. It is not an UNCITRAL-based law. It's a simplified version of Chapter 11. The idea was, if Chapter 11 is the equivalent of Test cricket, first we reduced it to a one-day match, and then we tried to make it into T20. It was simplified, and we tried at that time very hard to take into account the realities of legal practice in Pakistan, and that's a slightly longer explanation as to why things are, but I'll come back to that. The point basically is that, as you have acknowledged, this law was very deliberately hamstrung by the judges. And, no, sorry, not the judges, by the banks. I apologize for that. The specific point that I'm referring to, my apologies, I got that wrong, but
you can have contempt now.
The specific point I'm referring to is that, as a matter of practice, most loans in Pakistan, corporate loans, are backed by personal guarantees. So if the rehabilitation plan doesn't result in the discharge of personal guarantees, what you're telling a businessman is, go into bankruptcy, open up all of your books, give up the defenses that you would otherwise have, and at the end of the day, we will sell your house. Nobody is going to do that. Everything else is secondary, unless and until you deal with, because in terms of our overall philosophy, you have so often collapsed the distinction between corporate liability and personal liability. Every corporate loan, bar a few, is backed up by personal liability. So the company goes, the person goes. Unless you protect the person along with the company, nobody is going to use this law. And the banks resisted this, even though they themselves say that the existing system does not work. Now you can go back to it, you can discuss it. The idea was, as Justice Ijaz says, we don't want another 500 section law. The point was that somebody would come into the system, it would be outsourced immediately into mediation, there would be a technical advisory committee which would look at it and would come back to the courts for final ratification. Slightly longer, more complex debate about the various safeguards which were built into the system to try and make it work given our actual realities. We looked at the UNCITRAL model law on cross-border insolvency. Earlier drafts did have it, we took it out because we thought, really it's not much of an issue over here. In terms of insolvency tribunals, sir, the problem is the concept of judicial power. There's a US Supreme Court judgment, Northern Pipelines versus Marathon Pipelines from 1986, which says that bankruptcy and adjudication of contractual rights is a core judicial power, therefore has to be done by courts. We follow the same philosophy. So coming back to it, the point is, if you want to go through this process, and yes, you should recognize that this law can be very useful to a certain extent. The reason why the threshold was set so high was because the bank said, we don't want everybody showing up and saying, we want to go through this plan. So we said, fine, we'll set a high threshold. The reason why anybody can come in is because it forces them. You can have two systems of entry into bankruptcy. You can either have contested entry or uncontested. If you make it contested, people already aren't going to go in there. If you make it uncontested and then take away their rights later on, because anybody who comes in and doesn't disclose as per the form that used to be there, then at that point you would shift it immediately to liquidation. So there were checks and balances built in. But it's a long and complicated law, I acknowledge, but it was thought of as something which would be trialed almost as a luxury product for this market for cases precisely like Diwan Salman, so that you'd be able to get people in a room, force them to negotiate, and have the courts ultimately at the end of the day, you equip them with the relevant tools to ensure an outcome which is in the best interest of society, rather than confronting them with the choice that they have right now, which is to say, either let a case linger on, or to say this company is dead, here's a liquidator. So modern law is required. Those tools are required because while some judges, not all cases will you have, for example, Ashtar Osaf Ali arguing in front of Judge Shah Khan Sahab. You will have any number of judges. You have to take into account those limitations. And yes, it was a complicated law, it still is a complicated law. But if you want to have a modern insolvency system, I think that's the best way forward. You have to rehabilitate the Corporate Rehabilitation Act. Thank you.